Hey, welcome back to the podcast. It's been a long time since I've released a new episode. I've just been really busy, to be honest, but I really wanted to quickly put something out. Around a year ago, I did an episode where I allowed AI to take over the podcast. I got it to write the script, and then I did a voice clone of myself, and I got 11 labs to read it out, and it was okay. It's kind of like a good episode, but fairly unremarkable looking back. I think at the time it was impressive, but we've moved on a lot further now. What you're going to hear is something pretty extraordinary. I gave Google's new NotebookLM beta version the transcripts of all of the episodes of Tech Back Control, and I just asked it to create a deep dive podcast, all AI generated with 2 AI voices discussing the concepts that I've covered over the last 15 episodes. And give it a listen, see what you think.
Ever get that like sneaky feeling you're scrolling through, say, your favorite app and it's all free, amazing. But then you bump into an article about data harvesting, and suddenly you're wondering, what did I just trade for that funny cat video? That's kind of the starting point for our deep dive today, this whole free internet illusion. You sent over a bunch of podcasts, research papers, even some historical stuff.
Right.
So we're going to try to connect these dots, see what's really going on beneath the surface.
What I found really interesting looking at all this is there's this weird parallel. You've got the rise of the internet today, right? And it's got all this energy, all these changes happening, kind of like another time period, the Dutch Golden Age, specifically something called tulip mania.
Tulips. Okay,
Yeah.
Did not expect that. Remind me, what was the tulip mean? Besides, obviously, people going crazy for flowers.
So 17th century, right. Tulip bulbs, especially the rare ones, they become insanely valuable. Like people are using them almost like money, mortgaging their homes, pouring their savings, all to get in on these tulips.
So kind of like what we're seeing now with NFTs. Digital tulips, is that it?
Exactly. Both show how new tech back then, the printing press, now the internet, it just warps how we see value, and that creates these crazy bubbles sometimes. But the tulip mania, it wasn't just speculation. Big changes were happening at the same time in trade, finance, even art was changing because of it.
So you're saying we're in a similar moment. AI, crypto,
Yeah.
those are our exotic tulips.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. We see these new financial systems popping up, like DeFi, that's challenging the old banks. Remember the one podcast made about how technically you're lending the bank money every time you make a deposit?
Oh, wow, yeah. That stuck with me. Never thought about it like that before. It's like they're using our money to make money, and we just trust them.
And that trust is eroding, right? People want more transparency, more control over their money. That's driving interest in Bitcoin, this idea of open money.
Open money. First time I'm hearing that one.
Just another way to think about cryptocurrency. It's a system that's for everyone, everywhere, doesn't rely on banks or governments, just math and cryptography. Security through code, not through trusting some institution.
Okay, I'm following. But isn't the whole crypto world a bit of a, roller coaster? One day it's Lambos and moon talk. The next it's crashing worse than, a tulip market after everyone figures out those bulbs don't bloom forever.
You're not wrong. The volatility is a real problem. And that's why we have stablecoins now, trying to keep the price steady, often linked to, say, the US dollar. Digital cash, but with crypto benefits and the stability of regular currency.
Interesting. Although one podcast, Money Reimagined, I think it was called, they had some worries about stablecoins too.
Oh, absolutely. Regulation, transparency, and whether they can really stay stable, it's all up for debate. Remember what happened with Tether a while back.
Right, when it wasn't clear if they actually had enough to back it all up. So even with these new systems, it's still about trust in a way.
To some extent, yeah. But the big difference, with blockchain tech, a lot of that trust, it's in the code itself, the algorithms, not some company or government.
Built-in transparency, kind of.
Yeah.
So where does AI land in all this? It feels like AI is going beyond just being a tool. It's becoming like a user itself almost, shaping this digital world.
You're hitting on something important. One podcast, Tech Takes Control, they talked about AI developing System 2 thinking.
System 2? Is that like when my phone decides to do a massive update right when I need to use it? Talk about bad timing?
No, not quite like that. System 2, it's more about slow analytical thinking, how we solve complicated problems, make strategic decisions, and AI is starting to show this type of thinking.
So not just reacting to what we input, but actually figuring things out on its own.
That's incredible and kind of spooky, if I'm honest. Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, right? As AI gets smarter, we've got to think about what that means for who has power online. What happens when AI can analyze all this data, plan things out, even maybe run businesses on this new decentralized internet? That's something we'll dig into more in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we've got AI making deals, strategizing like some Wall Street hotshot. It's a lot. It's like those sci-fi movies where the robots take over the stock market, but hopefully with, less explosions.
Let's hope so. But the point is, this isn't just about AI taking our jobs, right? It's about AI creating totally new ways to be part of the economy. One podcast, I think it was called The AI Entrepreneur, they even said AI could actually boost decentralization.
Wait, seriously, how does that work? I always thought more AI, that just means more power for the big tech companies, the ones who can actually build this stuff.
Yeah, that's the usual thinking, right? But what if? What if AI gets rid of the middleman altogether?
Whoa, you're saying AI could cut out the big tech companies completely. That's a bold prediction.
Maybe not as crazy as it sounds. Remember we were talking about the attention economy before, how so much of the internet, it runs on ads.
Oh, right, like how those targeted ads are always right there, like they're reading my mind even when I wish they wouldn't.
Exactly. But AI, it doesn't need ad money. It doesn't need to collect your data to try and sell you stuff. This opens up this whole possibility of AI businesses, AI services running on completely different incentives.
So instead of getting bombarded with ads, I'd have AI competing for my attention by offering me stuff I actually want. Useful services, good content, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Imagine if your AI assistant, it's negotiating with other AIs to find you the best deals, filter out all the junk and misinformation, even help you manage your investments, all while respecting your privacy, giving you control.
Okay, that actually sounds kind of amazing.
Yeah.
But how would that even work in real life? Would I be like signing contracts with bots?
It's more about setting up systems where AI is handling that stuff in the background. Think about how algorithms already choose what you see on social media, what products they recommend. Now picture that way bigger, with AI managing complicated transactions and interactions, all based on what you want, what your goals are.
So less about AI being our boss, more like AI being our super smart assistant.
Exactly. And that's where those DAOs come in again, the decentralized autonomous organizations. Imagine AI not just participating in DAOs, but helping make decisions, being part of how they're governed.
Hold on, AI voting on how things are run, isn't that getting a little too, Skynet for comfort?
It's a valid concern, for sure. It's something we got to think about carefully. One of those podcasts you shared, they talked about using smart contracts as a way to code in ethical guidelines for AI. Basically building ethics into the system itself right from the start.
So like a digital rulebook for AI, making sure it's acting the way we want it to.
You got it. It's not perfect, but it's a step towards making sure that as we bring AI into these decentralized systems, we're doing it responsibly.
It's definitely a lot to process.
Yeah.
But if we can figure it out, find that balance between like cool new tech and ethics,
Yeah.
it seems like there's potential for something huge here.
No doubt. And it goes beyond just tech, right? It's about rethinking power, control, even what we consider valuable. Like the tulip mania messed with people's heads about the economy back then. This shift towards decentralization, AI running things. It makes us rethink how we deal with the world, the whole thing.
So where do we even start? It's easy to get lost in the what ifs, but for everyday people trying to understand all this, what's the first step?
That's the big question, right? How do we get ready for a future that feels like it's changing every single day? One podcast, I think it was called Future Proof Your Life, they had a cool idea about this.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. They were saying instead of trying to predict what's going to happen, we should focus on skills that'll be useful no matter what crazy tech comes along.
Right. And the big one they talked about was adaptability. Being able to learn fast, change directions if you need to, and be okay with things being a bit uncertain.
Makes sense, especially with AI always pushing the limits of what's possible. It's like you finally master something and boom, AI is already doing it for you.
It's true. But that same podcast, they also said all this change, it also means tons of opportunities if you're willing to go with the flow.
Okay, I like the sound of that. What kind of opportunities are we talking about?
Think about it. When AI takes over the boring, repetitive stuff, humans, we get to focus on things that need creativity, critical thinking, being human.
Yeah, like all the things AI, at least for now, isn't so great at.
Exactly. That's where we come in. It's not about us versus the machines. It's about working with AI, using its strengths and ours together.
So we're like the dynamic duo, Batman and Robin, but instead of fighting crime, we're building the future.
I like that. And Batman needs his gadgets, we can use AI tools to make us even better at what we do. You see artists using AI to make incredible new art, businesses using it to spot trends and invent new stuff. It's already happening.
It's like having a superpower, but instead of flying or whatever, it's being able to analyze tons of info instantly or come up with amazing ideas on the spot.
Exactly. And these tools, they're getting easier to use all the time. The possibilities are huge.
Okay, so adaptability, check. AI is our new sidekick, check. Anything else we need for this brave new world?
Another podcast you sent, they made a really strong case for digital literacy. Knowing how to use the internet isn't enough anymore. We gotta understand how it works, how to deal with all the complicated stuff in this new digital world.
So being able to spot fake news, understanding what's happening to our data, knowing how to protect ourselves online, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's about being smart and responsible online, making good choices in a world that runs more and more on tech.
That makes a lot of sense because, honestly, with all this talk about AI and decentralization, it's easy to feel like we're just along for the ride.
Yeah.
But you're saying we can actually steer this thing, we get a say in how it all goes down.
Absolutely. And that's where it gets exciting, right? This whole shift towards decentralization, it's not just about tech, it's about power. Who gets to control information, who makes the rules, who benefits from this whole technological revolution.
And instead of all that power being in the hands of a few big companies, it could be more spread out, giving everyday people more control over their own digital lives.
That's the idea. But it won't happen on its own. We got to be paying attention, understanding what's going on, and actually doing something to make this future we want a reality.
So what's the call to action? What can our listeners do, like starting today, to get ready for this decentralized AI-powered world?
Start by being curious. You've already got a head start with those podcasts and articles you sent me. Dive deeper into the stuff that grabs your attention. Try out new tech, ask questions, connect with other people who are also trying to wrap their heads around all this.
Basically, become an explorer of the digital world.
That's it. Because the future isn't something that just happens to us, it's something we build. And it's going to be one heck of a ride.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks so much for taking this deep dive with me. I've learned a ton.
My pleasure. Remember, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep exploring.
And on that note, we'll catch you all next time for another deep dive.
So, I honestly am lost for words, and I work in this industry, so this is hard to tackle. For me, what just happened is a big step change. I don't think the mainstream media and the news coverage of this has been very good. I think we're kind of in an AI hype saturation level. People are exhausted of the pace of change and of these new things just coming out constantly. But this one is pretty impressive. It took me barely any time. I just fed it the transcripts and just clicked generate a deep dive. This wasn't at all like the last time I did an AI generated podcast. I didn't actually have to do much. And I think you'd agree the result is impressive, concise, clear, actually far more entertaining and dynamic than my own episodes. So I have a lot to think through. I think this is going to be another interesting journey. But for now, I'll leave it there. Hope you have a good day. Catch you soon.